it's Easter Sunday. What a joyful time to eat chocolate, chocolate and more chocolate. Today's recipe is going to be some chocolate chip hot cross buns. Here's some I made earlier. This is yesterday's batch of hot cross buns. As you can see, they're all gone because they're so delicious, so you better try this recipe out. I'm going to do this part handheld because my camera stand won't let me swivel very well. We have 3 sachets of dry yeast, which is about 21 grams, 100 grams of sugar, 355 milliliters of lukewarm milk, 775 grams of plain flour, a teaspoon of salt, which just isn't in the shot there, 50 grams of melted butter, an egg slightly beaten, and over here we have chocolate chips, which is about 250 grams. So in that little cup there we have 60 grams of white chocolate. And you're also going to need about 30 extra grams of sugar and then 3 tablespoons of hot water because that'll make the glaze. In here I have all the yeast and the 100 grams of sugar, and now I'm just going to add the lukewarm milk. And when that's all added, leave it for 15 minutes until it gets all frothy. You'll be able to tell when this mixture is ready when it has sort of a top onto it. In here I've just added the sifted flour and the teaspoon of salt, and I made a well in the middle. And we're going to start adding our liquids into the well. This is your melted butter, the beaten egg, the yeast mixture, and half of the chocolate chips. And now for the messy part, we're just going to get our hands stuck in there and we're going to make it into a dough. Make sure there's no dry streaks or any flour left remaining. And it should look something like this. Now we're going to cover this up in a bit of cling film and put it away in a dark, warm place for 1.5 hours to 2 hours. If you have the time, leave it in for 2 hours, but 1.5 hours should be okay. It'll double in size. And like the good Lord Jesus Christ himself, the dough has risen and it has doubled in size. But now we're going to add some more Easter into this, and we're going to add the rest of the chocolate chips. I've just transferred the dough onto the counter, which I thoroughly floured, and I'm going to add in the chocolate chips. And I've just floured up my hands. I'm going to lightly knead this so I can incorporate the chocolate chips. Now, I need to divide this into 16 different balls, and the easiest way to do this is to halve it, which sometimes isn't too easy, and then continue to halve each ball you make until you get 16 of these. Now that you have 16 of these, we're going to start putting them onto your baking tray, which has a sheet of greaseproof paper on it, and you want to sit them closely together. And it should look something like this. You're going to leave these for another 20 minutes just to rise a little bit more, and turn on your oven to 200 degrees to preheat. It mightn't look like much of a difference, but it'll help make them even fluffier. So you're going to put them into the oven now for 25 minutes. There's only a minute left until the buns are done, so I'm just going to prepare the glaze. There's 30 grams of sugar in this cup, and I'm just going to add about 3 tablespoons of hot water. When your hot cross buns are fresh out of the oven, it's time to add the glaze. Spread on as much as you can and get it into all the nooks and crannies. And we just have to wait for the buns to cool down before we add the white chocolate. Now that these have cooled down slightly, it's time to add the crosses. I've just melted 60 grams of white chocolate in a little cup, and I'm not going to use a fancy icing set or anything. I'm just going to use a teaspoon to drizzle over. And hopefully they look something like this. Maybe yours will look a little bit better. But those are my hot cross buns. And that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed this Easter edition of Eat Well, Be Well. Until next week, eat lots of hot cross buns and be very sick in the morning. I'll see you soon.